Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. As I said in my last video, I wanted to do a separate video just celebrating 100 subscribers on my YouTube channel. I thought, what better time to do it than right now? So let's get into the video. So I thought this would be a great opportunity to kind of just chill and answer some questions that you guys left for me on my Instagram and my Twitter page. So you guys can learn a little more about me and the channel in general. So let's get into the questions. What is my best garage sale find ever? That's pretty tough. I've had some good ones over the years, but one that sticks out was about a year and a half ago. I just got up early one morning and just got on the Facebook Marketplace. I saw an ad for a garage sale. It had a couple pictures, so when I looked at one of them, I seen a Nintendo just sitting in the bottom left corner of one of the pictures. I saw the address and it was pretty close by. So I went over there, and of course, it was there. Just sitting there, 2 controllers, Mario Duck Hunt. So I got to talking with her, and I said, hey, do you happen to have any more games? She goes on to tell me a story about being a huge gamer back in the day. Her and her children used to play it non-stop. Well, they grew up and moved out, and they didn't want anything, so she just stored it away. I said, hey, would you mind going and getting it, and I could take a look at it? Maybe I can make you an offer on it. So she goes in, and she comes out with these 2 humongous tubs. And I'm thinking, man, what could be in here? So she starts pulling out Super Nintendos. At least 3 Nintendos, 2 Super Nintendos, and a ton of games. A ton. At least 75 games. And they were all pretty decent games. Mario 1, Mario 2, Mario 3, Ninja Gaiden, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, Contra, just the classic NES games. She had them all. Then I started pulling out Super Nintendo games. Yoshi's Island, Contra 3. I mean, the list goes on and on. It was a great find. But when I asked her how much she wanted for it all, she kind of hesitated and didn't really want to get rid of it. And I said, hey, that's fine. If you decide to, give me a call. As I started to walk away, she said, hey, wait a minute. What would you offer for it? So I just kind of looked down, saw everything, and said, hey, I'll give you $250 for it. She never hesitated. She just said, sold. So as I'm gathering it all up, another guy comes up, and he starts picking up the items, and I said, oh, well, I've already purchased those. So there's another tub too. So he starts going through that one. And I said, well, I purchased that one also. And the look on his face, because he was the local reseller, and he turned around and looked at me and said, why the hell am I even here? So he must have saw the listing, but must have saw it a little too late. So that's probably my best garage sale find. Most of those games are in my collection. I traded quite a few of them for games that I needed for my NES set. So that's probably the best garage sale find that I've ever had. And it was an extremely good deal. $250 sounds high, but there was probably, I'd say at that time, around $700, $800 worth of value there. So it was a fantastic find. Another question I got was, what's the best moment you've ever had at a convention? That's pretty tough. I've been to quite a few conventions. I try to go to them every year, because when you get to a certain level of collecting, you just don't find things that you need for your collection anymore, unless you're somewhere where all the games are going to be brought there, and they're extremely hard to find games. I try to go to conventions because they have things that I do need for my collection. Very rarely you find it out in the wild. But one of the best moments is probably from Retropalooza, not last year but the year before, when I met the Angry Video Game Nerd. His line was just insanely long to meet him. I was kind of bummed because he had to be somewhere for a panel during, in the next hour, so there was no way I was going to get through the line and be able to get his autograph or talk to him for a second. So they had this huge stage up, and everybody's waiting. Some reason, he come out from behind the stage, and he's just sitting there on his phone. So I turn around, and there he is. So I just walked up and said, "Hey man, how you doing?" And he was extremely nice, extremely polite, and I got a picture with him. And he signed my badge. So that was really cool, and that was a really cool moment. Another great moment was when I went to my first convention. It was Retropalooza in Arlington, Texas. I had never been to a convention before. I had been collecting for years, but I had never been to something that was, so, I don't know how to say it. It was so calculated and so well ran that when I got there, the amount of people, the amount of games that I saw, it just blew my mind. Like, I had never been around that many games at one time. And I was literally overwhelmed. I remember when I walked in the double doors to the hall, it was like almost like a huge banquet hall. It was just full of vendors. And I remember sitting at the first vendor booth for like 2 hours just looking at everything. And it was overwhelming. I had never seen that many. And it was a great feeling because I was seeing people that were on YouTube, and it felt like I was seeing celebrities. It was crazy. So that was probably another great moment with me going to conventions, is just the first one I went to. It was just such a surreal experience. And at the time, the prices were great. They've risen a lot since then, but I was able to get some fantastic games that I needed for my NES set for a really good deal. So another question I got was, out of all my NES games, which ones have I played the most? Well, it's tough to say, and a lot of it's hard to remember because I played a lot of them when I was really young and I had a lot of time, but I can't remember how much time. But I do know that I put a ton of time. This might sound cliche, but the original Super Mario Brothers. When I got my Nintendo, I didn't get another game for it ever. I only owned the original Super Mario Brothers for a long time, and I played it non-stop. I beat it, I kept playing it, me and my brother would play it all the time. Those songs and those stage themes, just the first stage, second stage, Bowser's Castle stages, the soundtracks to those, they're burnt in my brain, man. I'll never forget them. They were just memorable. I loved playing Super Mario Brothers. So if I had to choose, time-wise, it would probably be that, because I don't know how much time I put on it, but it had to be, it was a ton, just say that. Another question I got was, what is my favorite video game character of all time? If we're talking about Nintendo, that's pretty easy. It's probably going to be Mega Man or Samus from Metroid. I love both of those series. I like Link also, but something always resonated with me when I played Mega Man games, or when I played Metroid or Super Metroid. I love those characters. So those would be my two favorite Nintendo characters. What was the first console game I ever played? That's very tough to remember, but I do remember playing the Atari 2600, and I remember playing Pitfall. I never owned it, but it was at my neighbor's house, and my friends, Chad and Jeremy, they had everything. For some reason, their mom just was a single parent, and she just showered them with gifts. So they was one of the first people I ever knew that had a Nintendo, and they had an Atari before that. But I just remember those sounds from Pitfall and just watching them play on that little stick, just playing. That's probably the first memory I have. And just, you jump on the vine and it makes that sound. It's just, I remember that like it was yesterday. Another question I got was, what's the furthest I've ever traveled to buy a game? Well, every year I try to go to Arlington, Texas for Retropalooza. That's about a 12-hour drive for me. So that's usually the furthest I go to pick up games. But I do remember one situation where I went to a smaller convention, and it's probably one of my best pickups. It was a really small convention, and I get there, and just people have games everywhere like normal. Well, I see a guy who has a Nintendo. It was actually this one right here. So I walk up to the booth, and I didn't have this variant. So I asked him, hey, What are you asking on that? He said 70 bucks. Even for a boxed console, that's a really good deal. So I said, well, do you mind getting it down so I can check it out? He starts to get it down. Well, my buddy Trevor was with me. Well, he kind of wanted it also. And I think, honestly, he may have said he wanted to see what was inside first. But I know a lot more about boxed consoles and what should be in them and what came in them than he is. So I was the one who opened the box. I opened the flap and I pulled the system out. I opened it up and all I saw was plastic inside the styrofoam. I immediately closed it and said that I wanted to buy it. And Trevor was like, hey, I saw it first. And I said, just let me buy it. I didn't want to haggle the price. I didn't want to do anything. I was just hoping Trevor was going to give it to me. And yes, he did give it to me. So, but it ended up being a brand new Nintendo in the box. I mean, if it was played, it was meticulously put back together. All the twist ties, the baggies. I'll try to insert a clip of it and I'll take a picture of it and show you guys. But it was fantastic. And I could not believe he was only asking $70 for it. I don't want to say his name because he goes to a lot of conventions and I don't want him to feel bad or feel weird if he sees this. But he's a super cool guy. And even after I got that from him, I still spent like $500 that day with him, I think, on other things. That was probably the best find I ever had when I went somewhere. It was just a fantastic. So I'll try to insert the picture in right now. Another question I got asked was talk about a good game hunting story. Well, this was pretty easy. I have a local place in town that I used to know a guy. He doesn't work there anymore, but he did. Well, he always let me go in the back and just look at what they had. So I was scrounging around back there one day and I found a ton, just a solid stack of Sega Genesis manuals. Back in the 90s, they used to rent out video games to people. Well, I guess they would get the books and keep them so people wouldn't steal them or damage them. Well, I found a shoebox full of all the old rental instruction booklets. So I started flipping through a couple and I said, hey, are these for sale? And he said, sure, man. Which ones do you want? And I said, well, how much do you want for all of them? He goes, which ones are in there? So I start flipping through Splatterhouse 2. Just phenomenal manuals. Very tough to find manuals. Ghostbusters. He goes, I don't know, how about a quarter a piece? And some of them had multiples. I had 3 or 4 Contra Hardcore manuals, a couple Splatterhouse 2 manuals, Splatterhouse 3 manuals. It was a fantastic find. And he said, oh, I know what some of them are worth. Man, just give me a quarter for them since we're buddies. And that's what I did. So that's probably one of the coolest finds that I found locally was all those manuals. Well, that wraps up the questions. Wait, actually, there was a couple more questions from my buddies, the Bad Graphics Gamers. So, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and read them off, and I'll answer them. I don't know if you've never heard of them, but I'll put a link down in the description to their channel. Oh, it is fantastic. They're some of the nicest guys. I've hung out with them at conventions. I've hung out with them when we weren't at conventions, and these guys are just a riot, man. They're super cool. They always give me great deals. They go to a ton of conventions, and they're super, super cool channel. So make sure you check them out. Click the link down there and give them a subscription. They're such nice guys. But they've asked me a couple questions, so I guess I'll get into those. So my buddy Jay asked me, if I could buy one game and not pay under 95% retail for it, what game would it be? Well, I was logging my collection the other day, and I'm down to a select few that I need. But one game I noticed that I was missing that I had no idea I didn't have was Jack Nicklaus Golf. Apparently I need that game. So, that's the answer. I'll pay almost full retail for that. How about that, Jay? So Buzzy asked me, if I could suck one video game character, who would it be and why? Man, these guys. Well, you know what? I'm going to make this easy. I'm just going to say Samus. That puts me in the clear. So, thanks for the question, Buzz. Anyways, before I get out of here, though, I do want to give a couple shout-outs to my friend Ryan and Ronnie for hooking me up with the PC to help me start editing and starting my own YouTube channel. These guys are awesome, man. I never really was into computers, and they hooked me up big time and gave me everything I needed. So shout out to them because I really appreciate it. And I got to give one more special shout out to my boy Brandon, you know, Mr. Hollywood, because this guy knows what he's doing and he has an awesome YouTube channel. He helped me with the editing program. I'm stuck 24/7 on this thing, and he's helped me a ton with it. So I really appreciate it. He has a YouTube channel also, and you guys should go check it out. I'll put a link down in the description to his channel. It's called Pepper Dogs Fetch 'em Force. He does movie reviews. He does Super Nintendo reviews. He does PC game reviews. He's super awesome, and I just wanted to give him some love. So go check his channel out and throw him a subscription. Well, that about wraps it up. Thanks for all the questions, all the support. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Next week will be a special video. I've been working on it, and I'm really excited for you guys to see it. So, thanks for all the love, and until next time, keep it retro.